think we have a misconception of what we've planned and what we would hope for these plans and what is actually happening on the ground. I hear a lot of congratulations around ventilation, but we know for a fact that the capital planning that was necessary to update our schools in a way that would make them safe for all students, not just in particular zip codes or schools with really, really vocal and active PTAs, because the parents there have the wealth and the time and the support to advocate for these things, right? But I'm talking about every school in New York City having what it needs with regard to ventilation, staffing, and funding. We know that that is not the case. So to hear our leaders continue to act as if we are in a position where schools can and should be open 100% is outrageous in the month of October. I want to highlight that. I want to highlight the fact that parents, students, and teachers have been organizing all summer around the issues that we continue to see because leadership is not listening. And while I share your frustration with our chancellor, we also need to be very clear that the ball was dropped by our mayor, our governor, and UFC President Michael Mogul as well. Parents are asking for very small, very simple things like language access, like technology access, like universal broadband, like actually making our curriculum culturally responsive rather than using the words and then allowing our children to show up remotely and be policed for not having their cameras on or being in their pajamas because they're tired, even though they still showed up. And so these are the kind of conversations we can't even have because we are still worried about things like whether or not we have enough custodians to clean our schools and whether or not our staff is supported in the ways that they need, right? We're the PD for our teachers. Who is supporting the teachers and parents emotionally? Are we even having that conversation? There's a difference between discussing SEL and actually providing it. And I can tell you right now, at the local level, many schools, despite their best efforts, are failing. It's not for a lack of trying.
Time expired.
If you want to wrap up your final point, please.
Thank you, Councilman Traeger. I appreciate it. I really just wanted to highlight the fact that so many families are talking. The conversation you guys are having here, we've been having too. And it's really integral that we are at the center with you. We cannot create anything as a city if we continue to have leadership at the top in this very elite space and everyone else, including and especially our most impacted families, somewhere on the sidelines waiting for guidance. We don't want to wait for guidance. We want to help develop the guidance because that is the way that we know that our families who don't speak English, who don't have internet access, who live in homeless shelters or are literally on the street and trying to log into school at a Burger King parking lot, right? What are the ways that we reach them effectively? And we understand the circumstances because we are also living them. And I think sometimes that gets forgotten. Parent leaders are still just regular parents too. A lot of our teachers are also parents, and that is getting lost in this narrative where the students and the parents and the teachers are being pit against one another. But really what we want is to be included in the integral decision-making that's going to move our city forward. And I will continue to stress what Councilman Traeger, what the public advocate, and what parent leaders on community education councils have been saying all summer. And what we've been asking for is a delayed and phased reopening. We fought really hard and we got 2 small delays, and that's wonderful. But the reason we're seeing families opt back out of the blended model and into the remote model is because of all the failures that we already outlined, told you would happen, and asked for your support in addressing. So I think it's prudent upon all of us not to just have a monthly call where we listen to parents, air quotes on listen, right? We let parents talk. Let me say that correctly, but don't actually listen. We know exactly what we need and what our families need, and we really need to be engaged in a way that our expertise is valued and then implemented so that we can all create safe conditions for our schools. And the last thing I want to say is that not wanting the schools open because they're not safe is very different than not wanting the schools open at all. We would love nothing more than to send our children back to school, but we need to have an honest conversation about these spikes, about the infection rates rising in our communities that were hit the hardest in the first place, and what exactly we're going to do to keep families, students, and teachers safe. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Randy Levine.